Melania Trump is slowly easing into her role as First Lady after moving into the White House. She's met with foreign leaders, including South Korean President Moon Jae-in and his wife last week. A new Smithsonian Channel series called First Ladies Revealed offers a behind-the-scenes look at the wives of our presidents. It examines their many roles, including calming the nation during times of crisis.
At times of war, a First Lady's role changes. Laura Bush is far from the first to discover this. Edith Wilson in World War I. Lady Bird Johnson during Vietnam. Barbara Bush, the Gulf War of 1991. Each of these and more have risen to the challenge.
These kind of events are what tests your resolve. And certainly someone like Laura Bush drew from her inner reserves of strength.
Annina Mcbride, a featured expert in First Ladies Revealed, served as Chief of Staff for First Lady Laura Bush. She also worked as an assistant to President George W. Bush and as Director of White House Personnel. And Anita McBride joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
This is such a great series that we all got a chance to sort of get a glimpse at. And they talk about it, how First Lady's personal style can sort of make an imprint. How?
Well, there is a lot of power to style, and you have an example of someone like Jackie Kennedy, who really still in our history is so iconic. And the fact that she really understood the power of images. And as a young First Lady, again, prior to her being First Lady, the average age was 49 years old. And here she was, a 31-year-old First Lady. And that impact of the youthful side of our country was really important.
And with young kids in the White House.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But they also, you also talked about, the series talks about how she initially had the clothes made overseas and they had to move them
to the U.S.
So it would appear that...
Sure.
It wasn't a Chanel suit. It was a knockoff.
That's right. With the design coming from a part of the world where she was very comfortable. And again, First Ladies have to be themselves. And she had been schooled in France. She loved the French language. She loved the influence of that style and how that could apply to our American way of life.
You were in the White House on 9/11 with Laura Bush. Tell me about that moment. You think of Laura Bush as so quiet and reserved, but what was it like working with her, and what was that day like in particular?
Well, at the time of 9/11, I was working on the president's side, so I was working for President Bush, and Mrs. Bush, of course, I knew that she had gone up to the Hill for the first time to do a briefing to the Education and Workforce Committee on a topic that she was very comfortable with. This was 9 months into the administration. She was just finding her voice. She had just held the National Book Festival. They just had their first date dinner, and she was really comfortable now in her role. And then this happens. I mean, evacuating the White House, all of us that have worked there, and I've worked there since the Reagan days, you never think that you're going to be vulnerable. You think this is a safe place to be. And we realized being under attack, just how vulnerable we were.
It was interesting to see, though, the shifting role, her role after 9/11 as compared to the president's at the time.
And I think, and in the series, that's one of the things I've said, you know, that these are the unexpected things that can happen. You can have so many issues that you want to work on, but things that happen outside of your control, and how do you respond to them? That's what the country looks for in your character. And in this case with Laura Bush, she did draw from her deep inner reserves of strength, and that quiet strength that you had mentioned that really helped a combination that was in total shock and grief.
We know back in November, Melania Trump had announced cyberbullying would be something close to her heart. Do you think that's the right topic for her? What advice would you have for her?
Well, I do think it's important to look at the segment you had right before this with Lisa, talking about the impact of social media on children and on families in general. So I would say that Lisa's one of the experts that the First Lady can draw from, because that is one of the things of being in the White House. You can call on all the best experts to help inform you and really to roll out an initiative that's going to have an impact.
One might imagine the president and First Lady having some interesting discussions about social media these days. But you mentioned Jackie Kennedy before in taking some of the criticism, the sort of elite criticism. Nancy Reagan did as well, right? So how do First Ladies handle that?
Well, it's hard, you know, and how Mrs. Reagan handled it. Of course, she came in wanting to, again, at another time in our history of sort of uplifting American spirits. We were going through a recession. Our hostages had been held. And this was her way of bringing an elegance and a feeling of pride back to the White House. And the thing is, of course, you know, the rollout of her clothes and the china.
Very expensive
It
china.
just, and it was hard, but how did she respond to it? A year later, she made fun of it. And self-deprecating way, made fun of herself in self-deprecating way by dressing in hand-me-down clothes and singing at a major white tie White House event.
So if you're advising the First Lady now, I mean, for her to sort of get comfortable in that role, what do you, I mean, there's 6 months in now, what are you telling her?
Well, I think one of the things is, of course, you always want to tell First Ladies, be yourself. And what we saw on the world stage, which was the longest period of time that we actually saw Mrs. Trump in public on those 9 days on their foreign visit. And this is where, at least my sense of it was, you know, being a global citizen, being born in a foreign country, only being an American citizen for 10 years, speaking different languages, is where she really showed an amazing comfort level, and I think did a great job representing the country and being on the global stage.
Right. We sometimes forget how influential First Ladies can really be.
They really are leaders, and they're patriots. And the one thing, you'll never have them speak out against their husbands in public. What they say privately may be different, but that is the one thread that binds all of them together.
Annina McBride, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
First Ladies Revealed airs Sundays on Smithsonian Channel. It's owned by the Smithsonian Institute and Showtime, a division of CBS.